Prince Andrew's 64th birthday on February the 19th. The King is obviously, he needs members of his family around him. Is there anything Prince Andrew can do to repair his tarnished reputation, or is his royal life over, before retirement age?
I think that Prince Andrew's royal life is over, because it's so tainted, it sticks, unless he can find a way of proving his innocence. I think it's over. And I'm not sure that even if he did prove his innocence, that people would believe it. I think it's a really, really unpleasant sticker he's got on him. And I think it would be very difficult. I think Prince Andrew should go and live in Canada, or just remove himself. He's far too near to it all. It must be so miserable being a prisoner, albeit in the most beautiful house, but he is a prisoner. And so why doesn't he just say, I'm going to go and live in Canada in the cabin in the woods.
Or the Middle East.
Well, the Middle East love him. Well, they used to. I don't know if they do anymore. At one time, he did have a house in the Middle East. He was given a house by one of the Arab sheikhs. But I know for a fact that he really, really, really wants to try and prove his innocence. And I don't know how he's going to do it, or even if he's got the finance to do it. So I don't think we're going to see much happening there.
Were you talking in a book about the King's siblings as well? I mean, has Andrew been a good brother to Charles? And could he be an even better brother now that Charles is ill and he needs a bit of help?
I don't think that. I think Charles was a very good elder brother to Andrew. He loved Andrew. Everyone loved Andrew. He was a very endearing child. But I don't think there's much Andrew could do for. His brother is the king, and he is tainted. People are not going to accept it. So I maybe Andrew could do some things behind the scenes, but Andrew, I don't know if Andrew's got the wherewithal to do that, or the will to do it, or if Charles even wants him to.
Your book, Ingrid, is My Mother and I, and it's your latest book. You've got many books, but it talks about the relationship between Charles and his mother, late Queen Elizabeth II. And in it, you touch upon the idea that possibly Charles didn't have the most loving childhood. And Harry has spoken about how he moved to the United States to break the cycle of pain. Do you think Harry, has a point, or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, Harry probably does have a point, because that's what he feels, or that's what his therapist has told him. But I think that what Harry's not realising, and Harry never quite gets the whole picture, is that Charles was brought up in the 50s. He was born in 1948. It was so different. And all aristocratic families, and many just ordinary families, they didn't see their children in the way that we do now. They didn't have public shows of affection. Children were brought up by nannies and governesses, and their parents would see them in the morning for half an hour and in the evening, and that was the norm then. So Harry is saying that his father was brought up in this way, but it was the way of the times. And Diana complained about it as well, that that Charles was really incapable of showing any public affection. Doesn't mean he was incapable of showing private affection.
So do you think Harry has a point? He talks about coming from a broken home. I mean, does he have a point there, do you think?
Well, I think he does, but I mean, for all the people that I've spoken to that used to work at Highgrove, when Harry was a little boy, he was a really happy, cheeky, very naughty little boy who got on incredibly well with his father. And William mooted more to his mum. And yes, of course, Charles and Diana had terrible rows. And Diana used to go around, she was so frustrated with her husband that she would go around the books and just punch them with anger and scream and slam doors. We should try it, Matt, when you're really frustrated. But then you probably hurt your knuckles. But it could be wild at times. But according to one of the housekeepers there, the children didn't really see that. Because the minute there was action stations, I think they used to call it, they were whisked away by a nanny, a housekeeper, a detective. Remember, they had their PPOs there. They weren't exactly on their own.
So you talk about Diana. I can say you were friends with Princess Diana.
Yes.
You went round to, what did you went round to Kensington Palace for cups of tea?
Yes.
What was that like? That must have been quite a...
Well, the first time I went there, this is the longest time I spent with her. She invited me around because I'd written something that she didn't like. And Diana really could get people by the neck. And she was very clever. She was an arch manipulator because she would bring the enemy in. So I wasn't the only journalist to go there by any manner of means. And then she confronted the enemy, and then she made friends with the enemy. So she was very clever, and she thought I was really hugger-mugger with Prince Charles. And she wanted to find out, because we sort of laughed about the biscuits at Highgrove and all kinds of little things, because I'd been to Highgrove with Charles, and Diana wanted me on side, because I'd written something saying that, I think it was Paul Burrell was driving people into Kensington Palace covered by a rug in the back of the car. But it was Hasnat Khan. I didn't know that, but she didn't know I didn't know that. She was all things to all people, and she could, if she was talking to you now, Matt, I mean, you would be entranced by her, and she would be flattering you, say, oh, I like your suit, and I love your tie, and she'd be quite personal, and then, 2 minutes later, she'd be out of the door and say, oh, that dreadful man, Matt, But she knew how to seduce people, if you know what I mean, into liking her.
Gotcha.
And she was brilliant at it. I really admired her. And of course, she was very beautiful. Absolutely, stunningly beautiful. Because she just looked, I always say this, she looked as if she'd been dipped in a pot of that beautiful golden honey and pulled out, because she was flawless. Absolutely flawless.
That's wonderful. So based on your time you spent with Diana, which was a long time ago now, but what would she have thought, do you think, of Prince Harry's actions over the last... It's a big topic, but what do you think over the last 4 or 5 years? Would she have been supportive of what he's been doing?
I think she'd be very proud of Harry having the guts to leave something he didn't want to be in anymore. So I think she'd be very proud of him for getting out of the royal family, because that's what she wanted. She wanted to get out of the royal family and live in America, but she couldn't do that because then she thought, well, my kids are going to be taken away from me. But I think she'd be proud of Harry doing that, but I think she'd think he'd gone about it the wrong way. I think she probably would have thought that he needed to go and discuss this with his father, discuss it with his grandmother, and not just, leap. But I think the only way Harry ever could have done it was to leap.
Because she was a maverick herself.
Oh, and she was a complete maverick, yes.
I mean, Harry has criticised the royal family, and Diana also criticised the royal family. Is Harry, he's spoken about it in the past, is he maybe going to America and doing this as almost like a tribute or a legacy to Diana, do you think?
I suppose it could be. It's what his mother wanted to do and was unable to do it. And I suppose, I think that Harry probably is very happy living in California, in this gorgeous house and fantastic climate, apart from a few mudslides. And, with the woman he is obsessed and obviously very in love with. So it doesn't mean he's not happy. It just means that he doesn't really seem to have achieved very much.